Okie dokie boys and girls, it is day 28 of Calisthenics Endurance, and in today's workout I tried to think of two concepts in calisthenics that will help you get greater progress. The first one being specificity and the second one being weak spots. Now let's start with the specificity, right? As you can see, I am doing one-arm pull-ups. My goal is to do 15 one-arm pull-ups. That's why, even though it looks like a strength workout, to me it is an endurance workout. But anyway, I am doing 5 working sets of pull-ups here, which is very specific to my training, of course. Now, what I've been doing lately is 5 sets of the pull-ups you're seeing right now, and then also a finisher set if I felt like it most of the time. Now, that finisher set in particular was regular pull-ups. And you might think to yourself, well, that's quite specific because you're doing pull-ups, you're working the back, you're working your biceps, you're working rear delts, you're working everything that you're working in the one-arm pull-up. But I want to say it's not specific, right? It's okay, it's a pulling movement. It works the same muscles, but it is not specific in the same sense that, one-arm planche is not specific to the planche or vice versa. Because you're using the same muscles, yes, but you're using them in a different way. Pike push-ups are not specific to like handstand push-ups, right? They might seem like the same movement, but they're not. Yes, one movement will build your strength base for the other, and it will make progress easier once you start training the movement, but it does not get you there. It's not as specific as you can possibly go. For example, handstand push-ups against the wall would be more specific, but the most specific exercise is the exercise itself. So for one-arm pull-ups, if I want to do the most specific superset, it's gonna be, or finisher set I should say, it's gonna be one-arm pull-ups. And that's what I experimented with today. Because let's talk about point number 2, concept number 2, the weak spot. When I'm doing these main sets, these working sets, I am finding that, especially on the left arm, I have a weak spot. Now, it's difficult for me to gauge where exactly the weak spot is ahead. And so what's very important in, well, any sport, not only calisthenics, but in calisthenics as well, is if you want to progress, you have to find your weak spot. You have to put aside your ego. You have to find where your weak spot is so that you can work on it. And once, you cover the weakest link, that's where you will make your progress, right? Of course, it's important to focus on strong areas as well, but make sure your base is covered because you will only be as strong as your weakest spot when it comes to these exercises. And so what I did today to find my weak spot is negatives, right? And basically, when it comes to one-arm pull-ups or pull-ups in general, this applies for normal pull-ups, any rep, in my opinion, is when you do negatives, there's going to be a point of failure. And usually where that point of failure is where your weak spot is at. Because when it comes to these negatives, the top, it was quite comfortable. I could feel that I could hold it for quite a few seconds. And as I went down, things were feeling fine. But on the later reps on my left arm, I noticed that there was this one spot where suddenly all of my power went away. I wasn't able to apply pressure to the bar anymore, and I just fell down. And I felt this on the last rep of the last set, but that's basically where you can find your weak spot. Of course, it's not like there's different methods than the negative as well, but sometimes like this negative method is very, very easy, right? It's very accessible. And so what I noticed is, hey, my weak spot is quite low. I was failing reps towards the top of the rep, but that's just because somewhere down below in the rep, I was too weak, and so I was using all of my power there. And so today, two concepts applied: specificity, doing a finisher set with the exercise that I'm trying to do, and then in doing that exercise, also finding a variation where, if you use full control, you can see where the exercise is most difficult to control, right? And that's your weak spot. So finding that weak spot, very important to basically continue your progress. So try these two things out, try to think about them, try to apply them to your workout, try to train specific, and also find where your weakest link is.